It here. Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kelly Blackman, and I am here on How to Win at Everything. We have a special edition today of How to Win at Everything. I'm with my friend Mike Padurano, and we are going to talk about how you are not alone today. So let me start off with my very cheesy intro, and then we'll get started.
Have you ever wondered why you struggle to find success or fulfillment or lasting happiness? It's probably because your default wiring is set to lose. The How to Win at Everything podcast looks at real people who have struggled with the same insecurities, fears, doubts, and expectations and found a way to succeed. Why? Their brains are rewired for success. We dive into their thought patterns to show you how to rewire your own brain to win at everything.
All right, all right. Hey, Mike, good to see you this afternoon, brother. So, for anyone who doesn't know Mike, let me just tell you, Mike and I got introduced very early on in LinkedIn for me, actually. And this man has been one of the instrumental people in why I have a show right now and a lot of the things that I'm actually doing. So, Mike, I'm going to leave it to you, man, because it is my midday. I got my beer here and I'm just relaxing. So, you tell us, introduce yourself to us.
So my name is Mike Padurano. Michael, Mike, whatever you want to call me. I pretty much answer to anything. I've been programmed by my soon-to-be ex-wife. I'll answer to anything. Um, I do a lot of different things, right? Like I keep changing my headline on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn for 14 years off and on. I took a year break in between, deleted my account, which was almost maxed out in connections, started over, and built this round of LinkedIn with intent, right? Like everything in my network is with intent. I break things down in a strategic way that people that I could help today, people that I want to be a part of later, people that I want to do business with now and later, and then people that just inspire me, right?
Hmm.
And you're one of those. You definitely fall into one of those that crosses a few boundaries because or a few lines because you
Okay.
definitely inspire me as well, right? And from our first conversation, I mean, I just love you, man. You're like family. We are
Aw.
we're like aligned beyond belief, and I love it, right? So and I always inspired others to do podcasts, but never was willing to do it myself because of my insecurities, right? So as I've been building this 12 days of you're never
Yeah,
alone and trying to
yeah.
recruit hosts. And Tuesday had that incident, host dropped out, and then I get LinkedIn Live. I get approved Tuesday.
Yep.
And then there's a 24-hour window before you could use it. So it's always an adventure, right? And I've been live so many times now on so many channels all over the place. My YouTube live, I've done videos all over LinkedIn.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I've gone through such an amazing transformation this year, right? My goal in the world, my legacy when I'm dead, is that I elevated humanity through knowledge and understanding.
I like it.
That is my legacy goal. Now, I don't like short-term goals. I don't like New Year resolutions. I don't like
Hmm.
those things because they don't do any good for me. When I focus on, hey Maxine, when I focus on short-term goals, I lose the bigger picture, right? And
Hmm.
I and
Hmm.
and once I attain the goal, I'm not good at setting the next one, right? So
Hmm.
what I do is I look at legacy goals and I say,
Hmm.
this is where I'm
Hmm.
going to be when I'm dead. And I don't give myself a choice but to get there. The good news is I leave it in an area that I can do 100 different things and still end up there. So
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
I'm adaptable to the economy, to circumstances, to situations, and I can float back and forth. I'm involved in 6 different industries currently. I work. I just go back and forth with what's needed at the moment, and then I'm always just helping people, right? Whether it's in business, whether it's personal, whether it's a spiritual journey. I mean,
Hmm.
I just help people however I can, right? I just try to. I'm always my best self,
Yeah. Yeah.
even on my worst days, right? Like I'm finally getting to, hey Laura, getting to the point with self compassion that you know I'm okay being not okay. Like my post on
Yeah.
Monday, right? Like Sunday was a horrible day for me, and I know what I need to get out of it, and I shared the steps I took, and I'm just trying to show others that becoming self aware
Mm,
is scary. It's a
mhm,
scary process, but it is so worth it. Because once you understand what you need to get yourself out of these things, then you're better at asking and letting people know what you want and need. So during this journey, I've taken many steps, right? And used to be the most insecure. I was always scared of everything. I've been through many ups and downs in my life. I've been a millionaire on paper 3 different times, homeless 5 times now, if you include this stint at an Airbnb, because my stuff has no home now. So I don't have a home. I have no permanent address, and I'm just stranded in Arkansas because of my circumstance. Um, but this go around, I'm so fortunate that Annie Lieb reached out to me
mhm,
and gave me some insight. And, I started working with her and I started doing gratitudes, and, we're really close friends. And she started inspiring me, right? And then after a while, it became self inspired, right? And once you become self inspired, things radically change for you,
mhm,
right?
mhm. And
Now this is
Annie's
a
good for that too. Yeah,
she is, and it's a process though, right? Like
yeah.
this isn't, you wake up one day and you say, "Oh, I'm inspired." It's not, right? Like I have a lot of garbage I had to get rid of. She
Mhm,
introduced me to the Brene Brown books,
mhm.
and I did a lot of blame, shame, and guilt work. Then I
Yep.
did, one-on-one trauma stuff, and then I did group trauma stuff with Sherry Lewick.
Mhm, mhm,
I worked with Matt Gagnon for mindset coaching and just insight and just a brotherhood.
mhm.
There's been a lot of instrumental people in my life along this journey, especially in the last year, right? It's like everything in my life and all the trials and tribulations were so that I could get through this and thrive through it. I'm not
Yeah.
surviving. I am thriving, right?
Nice.
Like this
Nice.
is
Because
a
this year's brought it
surviving.
to a head, right? This year's made it really evident. Like you had to either crap or get off the pot.
Well, yes, but you know what it also did? This is the best year of my life. I don't care
Nice.
what anyone says about 2020.
Yeah.
Look, there's always going to be a pandemic. There's always going to be a bad flu season that kills more people than a pandemic, right?
Mhm.
So it's, this is one of those things that when you go inward and you do this inward journey, right? And you go deep and you find your spiritual self and you start aligning. Hey, David, when you start aligning yourself, you start aligning yourself across, mental, spiritual, and emotional, right? Your three levels.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anything's possible, right? And I've met some of the most amazing people in my life over the past 6 months. And these people see me, right? They see me for who I am, and they see me for to my core. Not
Yeah.
like it used to be just the stuff that I showed people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's just a different way of life, and then I just started adding stuff on of how to level up and how to level myself up and
Yeah.
just continue my evolution, right? Like, I was live last night. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you, what got this transformation started for you? What made you have that faith or hope or power, courage to jump?
Um, this time it was Annie Lieb.
Okay.
At this point in time, so basically, just to give a little background, February 18th, I got physical evidence of my kids being abused from
Mhm.
my soon-to-be ex-wife and her boyfriend.
Mhm.
And I was living in Florida at the time, and they were in Arkansas. I love Kelly. I've known Kelly forever, or like feels like forever, and we're like family. Um, so so okay, so I get the evidence, right? And I go into
Mhm.
shock, right? Because nobody wants to think about
Yeah. Yeah.
their three kids getting abused, seeing the evidence, seeing the pictures. You go into self blame, you go into guilt, you go into shame, and I was abused as a kid also. So it brought all those triggers
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah.
So I went into shutdown mode for a couple days. February 20th, I made a plan that I was going to leave the 21st or 22nd. I don't remember which day it was. I go to Atlanta for a day. I go to meet with the FBI in Atlanta so that I have a paper trail from one state to the next. So it shows, across state lines, so nothing gets lost in office paperwork.
Mhm.
Um, because I don't trust anybody. So, especially government organizations. Um, and then the next day, I drove to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Um, went to a town that was about an hour away from them. Went, met with the lawyer, paid the lawyer, hired the lawyer to file, emergency paperwork and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And that was February 25th. So February 26th comes around. I'm getting my hopes up because the lawyer's like, oh, this is going to go through. Don't worry about it. He's in court. 27th, he's in court. Another day, he's in court. He's in court. He can't file the paperwork, can't do the paperwork, can't write the stuff up.
Hmm.
So by the time March 5th comes around, I'm still sitting an hour away from my children, knowing what's going on to them on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And I am helpless. I posted a video on March 3rd. Annie saw my video. She connected with me. And on March 5th, she sent me a message that keep your head up. It's going to get better real soon.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a stranger, right? Didn't know
Yeah.
her from anywhere.
Yeah.
She sends me this message, and I don't know what it was, but I listened, right? March 6th, I get my kids. With an emergency injunction, get my kids.
Yeah.
So then I'm stuck in that little town. March 17th comes and the world shuts down.
Yep. Yep.
My temporary hearing date was supposed to be March 31st.
Ah.
So a tornado goes through the town that my lawyer is in and wipes out power. So we get no more rescheduling of that date because of COVID, unknown.
Yeah.
July 31st comes around.
Ah.
We get a scheduling of the date, October 28th. So from March 31st, it got rescheduled to October 28th.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's the long version, right? Or the timeline. So in June, when I started doing those roundtables that you joined us on, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Annie was on the first one.
Yeah.
And that point, me and Annie started talking regularly,
Mm-hmm.
and really built a bond and a friendship, and really started working on, she started giving me insights, I gave her insights, and we created that relationship, that friendship. And that was really the turning point, because the first 2.5 months I had them here, I was so depressed. I was 1,200 miles from
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
didn't have a family member around me. Nobody could travel because of COVID.
Yep.
Nobody understood what was going to happen, right? So I'm alone with 3 kids. The first 24 days was in a motel room, okay? And it was costing me, I think, $2,000 a month for the motel room, but it was costing me $3,000 a month for food,
Mm.
because it was a mini fridge, right? So what do you do with
Yeah.
a mini fridge and a micro, right?
There you go.
So
Yep.
so I'm buying 3 meals a day, and now keep in mind it's COVID, so everything's drive through. It's not real food. We're all eating fast food 3 times a day.
Mm.
Um, and then I started looking at Airbnbs. I found an Airbnb about 45 minutes away. I figured, okay, it has a kitchen. I'll save money. It's a little bit more money. So we come to the Airbnb, and we've been here ever since. Since April 1st, we've been staying in an Airbnb. The owner has been
Mm.
more than gracious, worked out a deal with me when Airbnb shut it down, basically. They basically said, we're not doing business
Yeah.
because of COVID. So worked out a deal with me because I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere to go. Hotels shut down. Everything's shut down. I was literally like, had no options anymore.
I,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's such a trying time, and I know that we got together to talk about people not being alone, and mainly it's because there's so much of this during the holidays, and then plus COVID. But honestly, man, you've been kind of being alone most of this year, having to uproot yourself. How has that been? I mean, can you describe it to us? Can you kind of give us an idea of what you've been working through mentally, emotionally?
It's been a lot of days crying. It's been a lot of days miserable, a lot of
Yeah.
days feeling alone, right? But what I've noticed is by the work I was doing, by the work I've been doing, it
Yeah.
now has shifted my perspective to make me realize I'm never alone. So, that's what I really wanted
That's
this
right.
story to get to. And it took me more time to get through this story today because I gave a little bit extra background.
Sure. Sure.
Um, but, the point is, in my extreme circumstance, right, where I don't have a family member around me, I don't have anyone helping me with my 3 children. The
Hmm.
first 8 months I was here, I had them 24/7 the whole time. I was also teaching them. I was also trying to make money. I didn't get paid for 8 months.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
mean, I had pressure coming every single direction.
Man, I
And,
can
and
imagine.
I mean, I used to lock myself in the bathroom from both doors because it's a
Yeah.
Jack and Jill door, to be
Hmm.
able to meditate for 5 minutes in the middle of the day just to center myself.
Yeah.
Like that's how it got, right? Like that's how hectic it just became. because nothing's open. So we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do things. In Arkansas, very few people wear masks, so going in public
Mhm.
doesn't really make sense.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
you know, and we can have a whole nother show just about that, but that's besides the point. Um, it's like you look at this circumstance in this situation, and mine is extreme, right? Mine is different. Mine is not the normal one. And
Sure.
I've never been so physically alone in my life ever, because I'm 1,200 to 1,500 miles away from anyone I care about,
Yeah.
anyone, and nobody can travel this time. Nobody can
Yep.
travel. But with the work that I've been doing on myself, figuring out my core values, starting to live into them, you know, identifying all my trauma and going through it and getting rid of it and releasing, becoming fully embracing my spirituality and stepping back into it. Um,
Hey, Lord does
um,
not appreciate this no mask.
yeah, seriously. Um, but stepping into myself spiritually and realizing that I'm never alone, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Like I've come to realize that virtually I can have deeper and better relationships than I even
Yeah.
had in person a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I know people will say it's not the same, but it's all what you allow yourself to perceive it as,
Mhm.
right? Because I would have never thought it'd be the same either. I'm a people
Mhm.
person. I always was in crowds. I was always around people. But what's ironic is I always felt alone when I was around them.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was an internal issue. That had nothing to do with me being around people, right? That was evading me dealing with myself.
Sure.
And that's what I realized, right? Because I started drinking at 9, doing hardcore drugs at 12. We got sober at 27. Had near death experiences across the whole way from ODs and everything else. And no matter what I did, there was always a vice, right? Like sometimes it was porn, sometimes it was strip clubs, sometimes it was just relationships, sometimes it was women, sometimes
Mhm.
it was just putting myself in public so I didn't feel alone.
Mhm.
But I never shook the alone feeling until I really was alone. And then I was able to
Interesting.
learn. Then I learned how to shake the alone feeling, right? And what I've learned is that I hold space for myself now. One of the things I do for others around me and people in my life and people close to me is I hold space for them,
Mm.
right? And I give them the space to be freely themselves. Now, it doesn't mean that they're always going to be free to be themselves with themselves, right?
Mhm.
That's a whole nother battle.
Mhm.
When you're not living to your core, you're not going to be free within yourself.
Mhm.
And I mean, even as recent as Sunday, I was still releasing a ton of trauma and pain.
Sure.
But I got to tell you, today I feel free. I feel free of everything today because
That's awesome.
I'm letting it go. I'm just allowing my life to be. It is what it is. I can't change anything, any of the circumstances. What I can change is my perception, my outlook, and how I react to it,
There you
right?
go.
So if it's all these different things and this world is crumbling and who knows what's going to happen? The election's still not over. The president won't leave the office. None of that crap means anything to me. Like it has no real effect on me.
Mhm.
First of all, our political system's a joke. So none of it really matters. It's all where the money pushes things, and let's not pretend it's any different, right? We have career politicians that don't have term limits that do whatever they want.
Mhm.
So let's not pretend it's more than that. Yes, it's nice to have the freedom to vote. It's nice to have the freedom of illusion, but that's all an illusion. The real freedom you have to find is within. Because when
Mm.
you find the freedom within, then you can survive any outside circumstance. And
Mm.
surviving the outside circumstance is all that matters. Those people that were in war camps and that were in concentration camps
Mhm.
and came out with this amazing insight into life. It's because they found that peace within, you know.
Let me ask you, Mike. What's because the show How to Win at Everything has to do with really drilling down to people being people, man. And you're not the first, you're not the last who's going to be going through these difficult times. What for you, how do you identify the jumping off point? How do you know when it's time to pivot like that and say, man, this crap around me is just that. It's garbage. It's not real. How do you know? How do you get when people are living in their own lives today, what should they be looking for to say, oh crap, this is that thing Mike was talking about?
You want the truth?
Yeah, yeah.
Every single human being start right this second. What the hell are you waiting for? Like what are you really waiting for? Do you want the extreme circumstances like I am? I mean,
Mm.
my mindset coach, when I first got out here, he goes, "You're at your Rocky Four moment." When he went to Russia and he had to fight his way, he had
Yeah.
to change everything about himself, right? Like, why
Yeah.
do you want to wait till that point? Why do you want to wait until you have so much going on? You either kill yourself or you just give in. Like, I mean,
Mm.
those are the options, right? So why do you want to put yourself to that extreme? Nobody's living their normal life today. Nobody's, around family and friends as much as they're used to. Nobody's going out.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for their vices. Everybody's looking for their
Yeah.
excuses. Everybody's trying to have coping mechanisms the best they can. You know what? Give it up. Like, it's
Mm.
not working. It's not going to work now. It's not going to work when things go back to normal. And if you're giving into your vices today, when things do go to some type of normalcy, you're going to go buck wild crazy and probably walk out of it and not walk out of it
Yeah.
because you're going to just go to an extreme. Like, I mean, mental health right now is a real issue and people ignore it.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
like it's like what's going on right now. I mean, this time of year is rough, always, right? Like, I mean, it is always bad for suicide rates, everything
Yep.
else going on.
Yep.
But with the isolation and everything that everyone is going through, if you're not reaching out to somebody to see if they're okay, then you're not living your life the way you're meant to,
Mm.
right? This is a human race, and we're in this together as a human race. Black, brown, pink, purple, gay, straight. I don't care what the differences are. This is a human race, okay?
Yep.
We are at a pivotal point in society. You can do thousands of years of research and look back, right? When people stop caring about the person next to them, civilization ends up collapsing somehow,
Mm.
right? And I don't know how many more tens of trillions of dollars debt could be created, right? Like, I mean, the money's not getting made up anywhere. I mean, let's not kid ourselves, right? The economy is not going to come back great. The retail jobs are not going to be there in 2021, which means those people are all going to start getting laid off by March Q1, right? Because it's all about shareholders' value. So it has nothing to do with people. It has nothing to do with human value. It has to do with shareholder value. I
Mm.
mean, let's really look at this. I mean, what is what are we waiting for? What are we sitting on the sidelines waiting to happen before we make the decision to say, I am done fitting into this category. I
Mm.
want to be more than what I am. I want to find a way deep within, deep in myself, to be my best self and to find my own internal peace and happiness.
Mm.
You know, I'm going to be doing a show at some
Right.
point soon based on agape love.
Mm-hmm.
Agape. I'm horrible at pronouncing things, right?
Oh,
So
that's
let's
it
just
though.
ignore my ignorance. Um, but articulation is not my strong point. That one I just studied for 6 weeks. Um, you know, like it takes a level further than unconditional, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a love, from what I understand, it's a love that one has between that and their higher power, right? I'm not
Mm.
going into religious principles. I'm not going into any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's between there and their higher power of their understanding.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically the equivalent of agape love, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, why can't we just treat everyone the same? Why can't we just why can't we realize that we're in this together no matter what?
That was going to be my question for you because when you say it, it sounds very simple. It sounds simple. It sounds easy. It sounds straightforward. Yet you see where we are. So what's at least in your opinion, you may not have all the answers here, but in your opinion, what's the gap? Why aren't we getting
Good
there?
good news, I have no lack of opinions. Um, so I mean, honestly, it's societal stigmas, it's labelism, I mean, I don't care what the label is. It's labelism. It's all labels. The fact
Hmm.
that when you apply for a job, you have to put your race, your sex orientation, you're single, married, you have to put all these different categories. You know what? What the hell does that have to do with a job? Do a blind application with
Sure.
just the person's information and
Yeah.
hire based on quality, hire based on skills. You
Hmm.
want to do those crazy assessments, which I find to be a joke because I fail them all the time. I think they're horrible because they don't make sense to me, right? Because my
Hmm.
logical brain looks at it and says, well, if they're asking me the same question 16 times in 16 different ways, maybe I got it wrong the first 15. So let me try something different, right? And it's right. Like, so I break it down, and at the end of the day, it's a joke. It's absurd. Labelism is a horrible thing, and it's about dividing us and putting us into different
Sure.
areas.
Yeah.
And and media does a great job of division. Media destroys us. I don't care which side of the playing field you're on. If you're not watching both sides,
Sure.
thank you, Laura. Um, uh, I mean, if you're not watching both sides of the media, then you're missing out, right? Like I remember when the riots started after the George Floyd incident, right? It was like right around when I started doing the round tables.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like when the riots started and I was watching, I turned on the TV because I wanted to see the riots a little bit just to understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Not like a bottlenecker, and I'm not like slowing down in traffic to kill somebody else. I just wanted to understand what was going on in the world a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. I put on CNN. CNN's talking about how white people are doing all the rioting and cops are scared and driving away and all this stuff is going on. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, this doesn't even look real, right? It looks fake. And then I go to Fox and Fox is like, only black people are rioting, only black people are looting. And what's really funny, for a split second, Fox's cameraman turned the camera to show a cop driving by and not stopping. And when he did that, you saw CNN's camera 10 or 20 feet down.
Wow.
They were looking at the
Wow.
exact same location, telling their own side of the story. If people
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that they're being manipulated by whatever side they're choosing,
Mm.
then they really need to pull their head out of their ass, because this is a
Yeah.
joke already. And I don't care what side of this you're on with politically, but if you honestly believe either of these candidates are going to change anything in the next 4 years, you're absurd. Like you really don't understand true facts, because the reality is there's a lesser of evils that I will not disagree with. Then there's a lesser of perceived evils, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we have a tyranting 3-year-old for a president that comes off like a sociopath and a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if he didn't act like that, he might have done a much better job, because the world wouldn't hate us even more now. Um, but neither of them are going to get anything done. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Senate and Congress is in a stalemate. Nothing's going to, they're going to try and push different platforms and universal health care and all these
Mm-hmm.
different things when we just added 6 trillion in debt in the last 6 months. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to understand how we're going to do this unless they raise taxes to 70%, which maybe they will. I mean, maybe that's what they're going to do.
Sure.
But I
Yeah.
promise you, the billionaires will still pay zero, right? The billionaires will still find a way to pay zero. So if you think that's going to change anything other than erode more of the upper middle class away or lower
Mm-hmm.
upper class away, then you're absurd, right?
Mm.
Like, I mean, the ones who get screwed in taxes are the ones that are like in that upper middle to lower upper class, right? Those are the
Mm-hmm.
people that really get destroyed by increases in taxes.
Mm.
Corporate tax can help, and you can make all these decisions and you can play with numbers all you want, right? At the end of the day, we're pretty screwed because we don't sell anything in this country. We sell a lot of bullshit and consumerism. So we don't manufacture anything. We don't really export things. California exports oranges to Florida. Florida exports them to California. When I lived in Florida my whole life, I couldn't buy a Florida orange anywhere unless I went to a grove or a farm, right? I only bought California oranges everywhere. So is that our exportation is from California to Florida? Like, I mean, this is how we
If
play
you're
with
in the
numbers.
orange game, man, yeah.
Hey, Bill. Well, that's like trading places, right?
Yeah.
Like, the orange trees. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I always think of. I mean, it's funny, right? Like, but this is the world we're living in. You want to know why we have so many problems? That nobody does their own research. Nobody
Mm.
realizes that wisdom comes over time.
Mm.
Wisdom is understanding. So there's knowledge that anyone can acquire if you have the desire to do so. There's experience, which is when you apply knowledge. Wisdom is the result of applying knowledge through experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure we're listening to the wrong people, because
Mm.
we're not the people that are wise and the people that have knowledge to share don't speak during these times because it's pointless.
Mm.
They get tuned out from all the noise. Why don't we do generational learning? Why don't we share
Sure.
real wealth of knowledge and wisdom? Why don't we really share that? I learned more from my 3-year-old in a day of being bossed around than I did in 12 years of school.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about education a bunch, where
Yeah.
there are obviously some places where we need to have way more clarity, way more truth as far as what's how the information is disseminated and how it's given, especially during these formative years. Um, but let me refocus this though, because I want to make sure that there are people right now who are going to be going through a different sort of struggle. So I'm with you. Those long term things that we see from politics and wealth and all of that. There's some things going on, but I want you to speak directly to the situation where right now there seems to be a buildup of pressure. Like we've seen it all year, which is why we keep getting like riots and we keep getting um, these different situations. Right now, it's actually coming to a head because I've talked to personally multiple people who are alone, and they're trying to do the best they can to quarantine and to stay to themselves and that sort of thing. And they are lonely, man. Like there's only so much you can do through Zoom. I want to try to make sure we have some resources and some ways for them to 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 help themselves. So you obviously have had a sort of a similar situation. What can you recommend for us?
So here's the key, right? I'm okay. So let's start this way. I am a natural helper, right? My first
Mhm,
inclination is to help every person I come across.
mhm,
Helpers are the worst at reaching out when they need help. And
sure.
I'm included. I am 100% included.
Yeah.
I am the worst at explaining what I need, what I want. I feel
Mhm.
like a burden to everybody.
Yep. Yep.
So here's what I've realized in the last week from talking to different hosts and having these conversations over and over again. That needs to be reframed as if somebody's willing to let me help them, then I need to honor somebody by giving them the space to help me,
That's right.
you know? And that's where it's missing, right? That's where I'm missing, right? That's
Mhm,
where I was, right? Like when I talk about Sunday and what I went through, the only
mhm.
reason it worked is I didn't communicate with everyone in my circle. I didn't communicate very well of what I needed and wanted.
Yeah.
But when I finally worked up the courage to make the phone call and get on the phone with a couple people, you know, explain it. Find your people that you can
Okay.
trust
Yep.
and reach out. Go to one of those hotlines. There's tons of them, right? Like, I mean,
Yep.
go to a hotline. Go, don't be scared, right? Like,
See, you say that, Mike, but then there is something that's blocking us, man. There's something that's making us say, I don't feel like I can. What like I don't know if you've experienced that, but
oh yeah.
as a helper, why is it so hard for you?
Well, I mean, I battled with some serious depressions over the course of my life. I tried to kill myself a couple different times, and then I had a death wish, right? And I OD'd many times, and I couldn't die no matter how hard I tried. I drowned
Mm,
twice, like I just couldn't die no matter what I tried. So I kind of just gave up on that because I failed at it. So, um, I was miserable. Like I never wanted to tell anybody what was going on. I never wanted to reach out, but
mhm,
I think at some point, right, when you're in that moment and you are scared and you are terrified and you're in that black abyss, right? Like for me, it feels like quicksand. When I go into those dark places, it feels like quicksand. I feel
mhm,
like no matter what move I make, I'm going deeper and deeper and
mhm.
deeper. My chest gets pressure. I feel like I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they don't happen as often today as they used to, but I still have those moments.
Mhm,
Um, when you're in that moment, you've got to think of the one thing that makes you irreplaceable, right? And not from an egocentric point of view, but from a what is your one uniqueness, your one unique gift that anyone in your life, I don't care who it is, I don't care if it's your puppy, I don't care if it's cats, I don't care if it's the neighbor's dog, right? Like if you're that alone, I don't care if it's the neighbor's dog. Find the one thing that will not be the same without you.
mhm,
Use that slight drop of hope to pick up the phone. And if you literally have nobody, message me because
mhm.
I'll get on the phone with you.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep. Same here.
somebody on LinkedIn yesterday posted something and they were in a bad place. And I connected with them immediately and I said, here's my phone number. Call me. Call me.
Yeah. Yeah.
They said, I'll call you in 15 minutes. It was 45 minutes later. I sent another message. I said, call me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know your number. I'm not going to call you, but call me. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you've, you, and then, okay, so there's multiple parts of this, right? If you're somebody who has people you care about that have struggled with those issues, you have an inherent responsibility to reach out to them
I
as a
agree.
human and as a
Yeah.
being in their life, someone that cares about them and see what's going on, right? See if they're okay. Now, granted, with depression and bipolar and all these different things, sometimes it comes out of nowhere and
Yeah.
there's no warning signs.
Yeah.
And I don't, I, for me, there was plenty of warning signs. So I don't really have the experience that I just went straight to the dark hole, right? It was like, for me, it was a snowball, and then into the quicksand.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess a sandball into the quicksand, because I don't know if there's snow quicksand or quick snow. Um, as
I
long as
think
it's
the
not
technical
yellow,
term you're looking for is snow sand. I think
snow
that's
sand. There you
yes.
go. And as
Just
long as
made
it's
that
not
up.
yellow, as long as it's
Yeah.
not yellow, I'm okay. Because it's the last thing I want to drown on.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I'm looking at it, and I just think that it's our responsibility to reach out to those that have had any struggles in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And just you don't need to say, "Hey, are you still alive? I'm worried about you." You just say hi, right? You just say hello. You start a conversation, and you get the person opened up a little. You make fun of the politics because it's an easy topic. Either side,
Mm-hmm.
who cares? I mean, we've isolated ourselves from family because they chose a different political party. How stupid are we? I mean, this is the traps that we're falling into. Um,
I let me show you. I don't know if you can see the comments here, but I think Laura
oof.
posted such a
I need a magnifying glass.
Laura
I
says, "I
love
want to be
Laura.
perceived as able to help, so maybe if I seem infallible, then that will come to me. I'm learning not so true. I'm learning so not true. Sorry, that's my bad eyesight too. Uh,
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
when I started showing that I struggle, more and more people are coming to me saying, 'You struggle and are struggling. How do I struggle and also be okay with it?'" And one of the things I think is really beautiful here is that this is, I think, a lot of people who consider themselves to be helpful people. We don't necessarily want to show people that we need help. But I agree with you, Mike. We have to reframe this thing. That we have to normalize the fact that as human beings, part of our struggle is dealing with those sort of issues. And the reality is that no matter what we're doing, no matter what we're going through, the reality is that all of us, if I'm rich, if I'm poor, um, black, white, gay, straight, everything that has to do with human emotions, we all go through it, and it's
Mhm.
going to be something there. One of the other things I want to make sure I bring up, I wanted to make sure for people who feel like maybe they don't
Mm.
have an
Mhm.
outlet. One, I'm you guys, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, I coach for a living. Like I actually do this for money. I'm willing to do this for you for free. Just give me a call, hit me with a text, whatever you need, and I'm happy to help. Also, this hotline, and let me make sure I got the correct name. It is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Um, it is,
Short and sweet. Short and
yeah,
sweet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
SAMHSA.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And look, they're open 24/7, 365 days a year. If you do feel like you're struggling, if you do feel like you need someone to talk to, they can connect you either with their site or with something local, so you can actually get some help.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. This is the thing, right? Like, every single living human being on this planet
Hmm.
needs to know. Yeah, exactly like Rhonda
That
said,
you're connected. Yep.
that we are one connected, and that we all have a purpose, and that we all have cared for. We all have unique gifts that need to be shared.
Hmm.
And without that, losing one of us is critical.
Yeah.
Losing one of us for reasons because we were too busy and didn't want to take time
Hmm.
is pure sad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Especially when we
I
can do something about it.
Yeah, and granted, I'm not great at following up with people. I'm a single dad of three in the middle of freaking nowhere, literally. I'm an hour and a half from the closest Starbucks. That's how far into nowhere's land I am. I mean, it took me an hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes to get to my daughter's endocrinologist yesterday. So, I mean, like
Hmm.
this is rural America, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, you know, you're isolated when you're out here, or you don't wear masks and you just live your life. But you're isolated. This
Hmm.
is real. This is real isolation. This is real issues, and we have veterans that have PTSD. I
Yeah.
mean, there's people all over the place with this stuff that are just they don't know where to go. They don't know how to handle it,
Hmm.
and you've got to be willing to reach out to them. You've got to check in with people. And I
Hmm.
am horrible at doing this. I am horrible at reaching out to people. I don't,
Yeah.
my dad called me yesterday and he's like, I haven't heard your voice in a while. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm just busy with three kids. Like, yeah, I mean, I fall asleep before them sometimes. Granted, I move furniture in front of the door, so they're safe inside. And I sleep very light. Sometimes I fall asleep on the couch sitting up because I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
so exhausted, right,
Yeah.
from three kids all day. But we gotta just we gotta give a shit. We gotta care.
Yeah.
We've got this is when our empathy has to show through.
Mhm.
And we literally have to spend time and focus energy on reaching out to people. And you know what? On that note, I'm going to put a reminder in my calendar to reach out to someone new every day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my phone and reach out to
Yeah.
somebody different every
Yeah.
day now because it's the only way I do things. It's
I,
the
I,
only way.
I'm wondering how many of us can take on a challenge like that. Once a day, take a 5-minute call.
Yeah.
Once a week, whatever you have, spend some of that time actually doing some of that. Uh, oh yeah. Laura mentions this that you've been doing it over the last 10 days, and you got a couple of days left, right, Mike?
Well, I mean, I've been doing it since last Monday.
Right.
And then now I have two people on the back end also.
Okay.
Emily Harmon is doing it with me on Saturday.
Oh, I love
So
Emily. Yeah.
yes, and then my podcast with her is coming out next week also, just to give her a
Oh,
little
that's
plug.
gonna be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
pay
So
attention to both of those.
but yeah, I mean, and who knows, right? Because I had other people reach out to me over the last week that said, let's keep going, right? Let's, take if I'm taking an hour of my day to just do this, right, with three kids bouncing around like nut jobs.
Yep.
I literally had to make mac and cheese 15 minutes, 20 minutes before this started,
Right.
boil water, destroyed the kitchen, and now I put them in rooms and they're eating in the room, which is not something they normally do, just so
Mhm.
that this can happen because it's
Yep.
that important,
Yep.
right? If you
Yep.
can just find an hour a day and just go live, find somebody to go
Yeah.
live with,
Yeah.
reach out to me, reach out to Kelly, reach out to somebody, and let's just be a voice for someone,
Yeah.
right? You never know who you're going to impact.
That's right. And it makes a point that the connectivity between people, like it's there already because we have a shared experience. Like who doesn't struggle, who doesn't hurt, who doesn't have joy, who doesn't love their family. Who all of us are having a shared experience. But and I love what Rhonda says here, and I've talked to Rhonda. Rhonda is great. She
Rhonda's
makes the
amazing.
point. Yeah, she makes the point. And this is another one of the people that Annie is really stepped in and shown love to. She makes that point that we're made to feel ashamed about this, but guys, there's no shame to this. This is something that we all do, something that we all go through. If you haven't cried this year, you may not be alive. Like this
Yeah,
is that time,
no, yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, if you're not crying, then you're doing something wrong in life. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, because I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a billionaire. I don't care if you're
Yep.
Bezos.
Yep.
I don't care what's going on. Even if it's your stock went down $1 today, right? Like, I mean, something's got to get you to that tier point, right?
Yep.
Like, well, then again, he had his divorce, right? So he lost an enormous amount of wealth overnight. I mean, he's made it up since then. But I mean, it's there's this world is so painful right now, and
Yeah.
we have created society where we numb ourselves from pain because we're
Mhm.
scared,
Mhm.
right? And you can't be scared to be yourself.
Yep.
And Laura actually is somebody who's great at this. She just did a podcast on imposter syndrome.
Oh,
Um,
that's
and,
right.
and yeah, 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 you need to talk to Laura. Actually, you guys need to connect. She, it's such a major issue.
Mhm.
Like
We do. Yeah.
none of us think we're good enough. I don't care who you are. We all have fears and insecurities. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I didn't dust the cabinet behind me, but I really don't care either right now. It's kind of gross though. Um, the oven mitts need to be washed. I'm looking at it through the picture, but I don't care, right? Because I'm here for a purpose, and the purpose is beyond any of the superficial junk, right? And
Mhm.
crap,
Mhm.
right? It's like we were talking before we went live, right? You talked about your sweatshirt. I'm not. I actually decided to wear a collar, a button down, just because I just got
Yeah.
clothes and I have nowhere to wear them, so I might as well wear them. Um, I have nowhere to go, so I might as well just wear it. Um, but like we were talking about that, even normally I come on these things with just a t-shirt. Today I just wanted to wear this because I wanted to.
Mhm.
Um, but be yourself. Just embrace who you are to every sense of that word. Find your flaws and embrace them because that's what makes you unique.
Yep.
That's what makes you powerful within your own skin.
Yep. Yeah.
Again,
Laura's coming
again,
with it
I'm
today.
I'm
Oh, here,
telling
let me
you.
get you. Full of pain, the depth. Oh wait. Oh man, Laura, Laura. She must have a book coming out or something because these are direct quotes. I'm sure. The depth to the fact that I felt deep pain is a testament to the fact that I feel deep joy. Yep. And love and gratitude and faith and hope. Um, Laura, I think you're spot on there because this is all a part of the human condition and all a part of something that we share, which means to me at least that if it's a shared thing, um, it's something that we can all talk about. And if you open it up to talk about it, then we can actually start helping each other with it. Because if I don't feel ashamed, if I don't feel like I'm some sort of oddball and I'm failing, then what will happen is when I talk about it, now you can relate to it, and I can relate to it,
Hmm.
and he and she can relate to it. And the next thing you
Yeah,
know, we're actually all helping each other. Look, in that same vein, I want to make sure I bring up some. I've been working on let's call it a course, but I really want to talk specifically about some tips and tricks, some things that you can do, especially during isolation, especially during COVID, especially during these holidays, to really help. One of these things is to practice mindfulness, and that means paying attention to yourself. So, anyone who's listening, anyone who's looking, when you get a chance, if you go past a mirror, if you go past a window, anytime you can take a look at yourself, or anytime you can actually think of what's going on with your body, if you feel your teeth are clenched, if you feel your face is warm, if your fists are clenched, there's probably something emotional going on. And that emotion happens, and then our bodies react way before our brains will register it. So, pay attention to yourself. And Hallie, geez, why I can't
Avalio,
Avalio
Avalio.
just had
Yep,
her post yesterday about journaling. When you
yep.
see those things happening, journal it. Journal it.
Hmm.
Super
Yeah.
easy, really quick. Hey, I felt like this. My face looked like that. Journal it, date it, and what you will do is you'll actually start to become self-aware, and that's one of the key parts of emotional intelligence. Becoming self-aware, noticing what you're doing, noticing what your body is doing, and you'll actually be able to exist in your own body with less stress, with less hatred for yourself and for your condition,
Hmm.
because you'll recognize that you're actually doing something, and you'll have the power to now adjust it or change it or adapt to it if you want, or accept it if you want.
I mean, accepting and allowing is huge, right? Like you've
Yeah,
got to just
yeah,
allow yourself to be yourself. I mean, look, I'm gonna say some weird things right now, right? Like I went to bed till I was 11, right? Like, and it was,
hmm,
and I mean, like I always got picked on in school. I was bullied to no end until I outgrew the bullies. And then,
hmm,
and then, like, I mean, I even look at it now, like I was so miserable in my own skin that I used to shower in the dark, like because I
yeah,
didn't want to see myself,
yeah,
right? Like, I mean, this is real shit, people. Like, this is, when you hate yourself to that extent,
yeah.
luckily I wasn't able to die no matter how hard I tried, and I gave up, right? It's the only time in my life I'm a quitter.
I was saying
Um,
it's good not
but
to be a quitter. Yeah.
right, I mean, but like when you hate yourself that much, it's hard to live. It's hard to
Hmm,
be
hmm,
yourself. And over this last 6 to 7 months, I mean, I've just been so vulnerable and so raw. Like
hmm,
my YouTube channel, I cry all over it. I don't care.
hmm.
I don't care what anyone thinks.
Mhm.
Because if one person watches it and one person says, you know what, I'm okay to cry, I'm okay to let this crap out, I don't want to carry this around anymore,
Mhm.
then I did my job,
Mhm.
right? Like I've decided that living in my core values with this blunt, transparent honesty is,
Mhm.
it's refreshing, right? Because I
Yeah.
hide nothing.
Yeah.
I have nothing to hide. I'm done. I'm just done hiding.
There's
What's the
something
point?
really freeing about that, right?
It is. I
Yeah.
found my personal freedom.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, this is what these guys that were, in these concentration camps that were slaves that, went through all this stuff. And you can go back to, the Jews being slaves with the Egyptians, right?
Mhm.
Like they were the first slaves. So, you know, but it's the same slavery. It's the same mentality. It's, prisoners of war. How do
Mhm.
you think they find this personal freedom? They definitely don't find it due to circumstance. I promise you that. I
Mhm.
mean, the reality is they look for it. They want it. It's their refuge. It's how they survive this, right? So why shouldn't we look for it when we're not in that survival mode?
Mhm.
Why shouldn't we look for it when we're just living our lives, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what do we need to get to such extremes for?
Mhm.
Why don't we work on building a circle of people around us that we trust,
Sure.
that
Yep.
we can turn to and
Yep.
build that network, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, I don't understand. Like, why are we not
Well,
doing those things?
I think a lot of it has to do with fear, though, right? Because if you have someone who is emotionally intelligent, then you have that person who's like you, who's saying, "Hey, I'm going to create space around me for the people to be who they are." But in a lot of cases, man, we don't have that. And I would say people who love me, people who are in my family, aren't emotionally aware enough to say, yeah, Kelly, you may need this, and I can tell that you need that. Let me help. And because of that, I think that we have a lot of fear. We have a lot of places where people don't realize, that they can go. But if you have, like, man, I'm so with you. If you have someone who's emotionally intelligent enough, emotionally mature enough, yeah, man, there needs to be a circle of people that you can say, "Hey, man, I'm screwed right now. I'm struggling." I posted about Connie Connor's post earlier where you
Mm-hmm.
see this picture is her and her kids, and oh, it's the kids, and everybody looks happy. And she's like, when you look at this picture, you're gonna see, something that's really nice and cute and sweet, and the kids are happy and new toys and blah blah blah. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, but I'm struggling right now. And to
Yep.
me, that touches my heart because that is the realest thing you can do. Uh, we're told as a culture, as a world, to be okay. And if you're not okay, then there's something wrong. You're weak. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't like being alone, you're weak. It's something wrong with you. But the reality, man, is that that's where all the strength is. The strength is being able to say, I don't care. Like you mentioned, man, I don't care. I don't care if you don't think that I'm super manly and macho. I saw Marley and Me and I cried. I cried hard, man, because that is an awesome movie and dogs are great. And I'll tell you this much, I'm a better father because of it. I'm a better husband because of it. I'm a better person because of it. And anyone who's denying themselves those things so that they can try to fit into someone's narrow-minded mold,
Mm-hmm.
dude, you are missing it. You are missing it. You're missing what makes life beautiful, what makes being alive beautiful.
Look, you've got to experience the ups and downs. If you don't ride the waves, then you're getting
Mhm.
swallowed by them. And here's another thing I'm going to say. You might look at your circle and say, I don't have anybody emotionally intelligent enough, right? And that's possible. It is possible. If you're a software engineer, if you're in a
Those
no, but
IT
think
guys are always going to
well,
be.
well,
They're always
well,
going to
think
be
about it.
remote.
It's anybody who's super analytical, scientists,
Sure,
they don't
sure.
have
I know what you mean.
emotionally intelligent people around them normally. I'm not saying everyone, right? This
Sure,
isn't
sure.
just across the board here, right? Like, I mean, you can go to
Hmm.
pro athletes, you can go to pro athletes also, right?
Hmm.
Because that they have the stigmas that they have to keep up with. At the end of the day, if you don't have those people around you, find someone that you can trust and just trust them. Just trust them to
Yeah,
be there for you.
yeah, yeah,
Reach your hand out. And,
yeah.
and if you can't do that, if you cannot reach your hand out to someone, then friggin' find me. And if
That's
you're
right.
watching it, and if you're watching this, you'll know how to find me. I'm friggin' everywhere. Not even by choice, but I am. You might not recognize me, right? I'm not wearing a t-shirt, but it's okay. I'm still the same person. I am just as much as a bum now as I was before. I just, decided to look a little nicer today for Kelly's. I just wanted to dress up for Kelly.
That's right. I mean, never
Yes.
mind my everyday hoodie. It's okay.
No. Hey, you know, look, I've been wearing. I think my hoodie needs to be washed. To be honest, like I think I smell just looking at it. So it's definitely time. Um, but it's look. We've got to just fight through this, and we got to get together. We've got to be together. This is not something that we
That's
can
right.
do alone. It's just
That's right.
not. That's not realistic.
Look, speaking of, well, I wanna push this because we only got a few minutes left. I want to push this forward and talk about next steps, talk about what we can do, talking about solutions. Um, First off, Mike has already mentioned if anyone out there who needs a helping hand, uh, reach out to him. Reach out to him. I've talked to Mike
Mhm.
on plenty of occasions. Mike is a good guy.
Yeah,
Same
I have
thing
my
for me.
moments. I'm okay.
If you want to connect to Mike or connect to me, feel free. I don't know how everyone is. I don't know everything about everyone, but I know I'm willing to be there as much as I can. I show up. That being said, there are plenty of people out there who do, guys. So the helpline is up right now for the Samson National Helpline. If you feel like you're struggling, if you're running into depression, anxiety, these things are huge, especially this time of year. The everything from the Lord's sunlight to the isolation to a worldwide pandemic, everything is making these things flare up. So don't feel ashamed. Don't feel like you're by yourself. Uh, Reach out. And again, you have people here who care. The last thing I want to make sure I mention is Mike makes a really great point about reaching out to other people. Sometimes the best way to help yourself, sometimes the best way to see yourself is to try to reach out and help someone else. I
Hmm.
practice this in my everyday life. I have multiple clients who are teaching me stuff about myself every single
Mm.
day. So, you guys, you really want to make sure you do that. Even if you can just do it for a few minutes a day, do it on LinkedIn. You see somebody who says, "Hey, I'm struggling, blah, blah, blah." Reach out, give them an encouraging word. Trust me, it helps. All right, Mike. So I want to give you the floor as we end off, man. We got about 3 minutes left. Uh, please tell us any last words, anything else that we can do, uh, things that you see that maybe we can help out each other, help ourselves with.
I mean, at the end of the day, this like let's go a little deeper real quick in the last few minutes.
Hmm.
This is a self-awareness journey. Like
Hmm.
you need to want to be self-aware. You need to be willing to be self-aware, and you need to understand yourself to a point that you can pivot
Yeah,
and make those changes, right?
yeah,
Like that's taking it deeper. The surface is always reach out. I don't care how much of a burden you think you are. That person that answers the phone, that person that answers the phone is getting just as much out of it. Thank you, Rhonda. That person who answers the phone is getting just as much out of it, if not more.
that's right. That's right.
Sometimes it's just a reminder of where we were at one moment, right? And it makes us grateful for being there. Um, you know, we've gotta really look at this and we've got to really identify
Yeah,
that reaching out and being there for another person helps both sides.
that's right.
There is no burden. And if somebody in your life is making you feel like a burden, it's the easiest way to figure out who to let go out of your life
Mm,
because they don't know what they're doing,
yep.
right? And you don't have to cut them off and get rid of them forever, but you just push them back and put them a little bit at arm's length
Hmm.
because maybe one day they change, right? We all change every day. Maybe they're having a bad day, but it doesn't mean that you can't call someone else. It doesn't mean you
Yep.
can't just get on the phone. This
That's
is
right.
real life. We get one chance in this existence, right? Now we can talk about past lives. We can talk about all the other stuff and what people believe in reincarnation. I can go on for days about that, but at the end of the day, this is our one chance in this life.
Yeah,
So what are you going to give it up just because you're scared? Like, make that call. Get on that phone. Don't walk outside because some cities you might get arrested, but you can get on the phone. I mean, with these COVID things and with quarantine, it doesn't help, but pick up the phone.
yeah.
Text somebody. If you don't want to call, text. Just text. See how somebody's doing.
Hmm.
That's it. It's that simple. And you know what? Somebody might not answer. Somebody might answer. They might tell you they're great. They might tell you they're horrible. But either way, you're just making that connection. Was that our alarm? Is that what that is? Is that what?
No, I'm gonna say that was probably the Amazon guy.
Oh, I'm
Hashtag
like,
COVID
wow.
life.
Yeah, seriously, seriously. Okay, well, Amazon Prime takes 9 days to get to me, so I don't want to hear about it. Like it's between 7 and 9 days. It's hysterical. It really is funny. But yeah, I mean, look, just reach out. Find somebody in your circle that you can reach out to no matter what. Because I promise you, if you have two or three people, maybe even four, that you can bring in, one of them will always be available. You will find that one of them is. And if they're not, I'm telling you, call me. I don't care. Call me. Find me. Call me. Get a hold of me. My phone number's on freaking LinkedIn. My email address is everywhere. You can Google search me and I'm everywhere. Like, I mean, just get a hold of me. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Obviously, I'm not allowed.
Look, I want to thank you so much, Mike. We are at time. Um, everyone, especially everyone who participated, who joined in, who joined the conversation with us here. I want to thank you all so much too. You really are the lifeblood of what makes this thing work. So I love y'all. I thank you guys so much for joining in. Mike, you hold on, sir. I'm gonna talk to you backstage. I'm gonna play us out with our
With the
with my
squirrel. Bring
with
on the
my
squirrel.
my
Love
great
it.
outro.
I love it. I love
Thank
it.
you guys. And look, we'll continue this conversation on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. So any extra comments, you guys, make sure you like the page, make sure you subscribe, and yeah, interact. We'll be talking more. All right. Thanks
Definitely.
everybody. See you guys. Oh, thanks everybody. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Ta-da!